Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Integrity IPG podcast. My name is Jordan Pahalik, and I'm joined with co-host and CFP Dylan Webkenberg. How are you doing today, Dylan?
Good. Hey, everybody.
So you had a recent trip to Arizona.
I did.
Go.
It was nice. Yeah. Went there with my girlfriend. We escaped the Michigan cold weather and did some hiking. And I found out that I'm afraid of heights and came back to some more cold Michigan weather. But it was a good trip, and I'm ready to get back into work.
Yeah. What would you say out there? What was some of the best things you did? I know you said you went hiking, but favorite parts of the trip?
Favorite part was I did a day trip to Sedona. And they have those big, nice mountains. I did hikes there and whatnot. And I saw the teal blue McDonald's, which was cool for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Sedona's beautiful with the different colors of the rocks. And I've been there. I mean, it was probably 10, 15 years ago, but it's just a beautiful area.
Yeah. Great trip.
Yeah. So we have another very exciting topic we're going to go over with you guys today. Little more for the younger generation. It is about the day you become a parent. So there's a lot of different things that get thrown your way when you have your first child. So we are going to go over some of the financial checklists to, check off as that happens and what you should be looking at.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually something that works well with us because a lot of our friends are stepping into this, young parent type of life. And one of the biggest things that we want to really hammer home with them is that as soon as you have a kid, the day you have a kid, you really need to start considering life insurance. If you're with a spouse and you're earning an income and God forbid something should happen to you, your spouse and now your child are now relying on that lost income. And that's what life insurance comes in to replace, essentially. So that's something that we really try and hammer home, not just for the death benefit and income replacement purpose, but also for the fact that if you're young, healthy, and insurable, you can get it now for a lot cheaper and let it grow over time. So that's just one of the first and foremost things that we always talk about with young clients that have kids. And it's like, yeah, you really need to consider life insurance, even before you have kids, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a kid, right? It's one of the most exciting days of your life, times of your life. And then you slowly start to realize not everything I do just affects me, right? You have to start planning and building a life to protect somebody else.
Right.
It's kind of funny, the stepping stones in life. You get a girlfriend or a significant other, and that's a drastic life change. And then a lot of people tend to go the animal route where you get a dog or a cat, and it's like, okay, this is another step up. We're learning a little bit. And then having a kid is just a whole new piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So again, with that, another thing for people to consider is you want to have a good, healthy emergency fund or liquid savings built up just in case. It's an emergency fund / an opportunity fund. You want enough liquid savings on hand to handle if the furnace breaks or if you want to put a down payment on a house or things of that nature so that you're not needing to sell investments or take out loans or things like that for those large expenses.
That's huge because obviously kids are expensive. That's first and foremost one of the things, and I think everyone learns quickly. Those bills start to add up. And while they're young, you want to make sure everything is obviously okay, they're healthy. It can be a stressful time with going through that type of stuff. So updating your health insurance is also very important. Usually most employer plans have around a 30-day window to add your child onto it. So that's very important to get that out the way. Otherwise, you might have to wait to the next enrollment period. And if you have to go 6-9 months with that gap in coverage when kids are young, right? Things can happen, things can arise, and you don't have the coverage to cover some of that stuff. That could be costly and dangerous. So that's something that you want to jump on right away.
Definitely.
As well.
And while we're kind of just going through the checklist of things that new parents should consider and really should start focusing on, the next one would be to at least consider an estate plan, like a will or a trust. Just talk with an estate planning attorney. Now that you have kids in the picture, if something should happen to you, you definitely want all of your assets labeled with the name of the beneficiary. And that might be a trust that you want to open up if your kids are young. and that could spell out some different contingencies or ways to handle inherited assets for those kids. So yeah, these are all just things that new parents should consider. Begins with life insurance, emergency fund, health insurance, and then obviously will and trust.
Yeah, and will to trust is something that's obviously very important. It's not something that we individually help people with,
Right.
but it's something that we point the finger at and say, this is something you have to do because God forbid something were to happen to you and your spouse, let's say. You don't want, and this, let's say we evolve over time and your kids are 12, 15, 18. It's dangerous passing down $1 million to an 18-year-old. I mean, I know personally when I was 18, if I got $1 million, I don't think it would go towards the smartest route.
Right.
So that's something that's huge to have in place because again, it allows you to protect your kids from themselves.
Yep.
And that's one of the big worries as children are growing up and as a parent, I think you find out and realize is that half the job is protecting them from themselves and showing them the way with things. And that's what a will and a trust will do. It allows you to, have guidance and put your money where it wants to go when you want it to go there. So that's something that's also very important to have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and just moving right along through this checklist, another thing to consider, obviously having a newborn, you're not really focused too much on their college education, but a lot of parents still consider it. There's a couple different tax advantage plans that people participate in to help fund a college education for their kids. And I guess overall, we just named 6, 7 different things that are all not cheap to just start. We're like, you have to make sure you do this as soon as you have kids, get all these things checked off. And it's like, it's obviously easier said than done. I guess the whole point of us saying that is that that's why people like us are useful for new parents. There's so many things that you have to consider, and to try and learn all of those individual things on your own, it would be like a second job for you. So that's why people like us come in and kind of just help take care of that.
Yeah. Especially, having a newborn itself is a second job.
Yeah, right.
Half the time ends up being your first job. So, like he said, that's where, with all these different variables and things being thrown at you, again, it's obviously a very stressful time financially and strenuous. And that's where we can come into play and help kind of organize and get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Organize ducks in a row and just point you in the right direction. It doesn't necessarily mean like you need to do X, Y, and Z, but at least educating someone on it is a good start, I think.
Yeah.
So,
no, 100%. And with that, another thing that we haven't brought up yet is people instantly think, okay, I have a kid, and the expenses and the different, money that's going to be going out the window aimed towards this kid. But people tend to forget the costs and expenses with childcare, and possibly, if one parent were to, fall back a little bit and take some of that time off work to watch the newborn or do this, that's less money that's being brought in.
yeah.
You're saving a lot of money through at childcare. The point of the story is, the point that I'm trying to make is childcare is very expensive. And I think people tend to overlook that. And, having a stay-at-home mother or father, yeah, you lose some of that income, but you don't understand the expenses you're saving with that as well.
Right. It's like a 6-figure job. It could be.
Yeah.
Stay-at-home mom or dad.
Exactly. And that's, again, that ties into some of the things we talked about when it comes to life insurance. It's like some people don't think, okay, if we have one of the parents is a stay-at-home parent, they're not bringing in any income, but they're watching that kid or kids full time. It's like, well, why would they need life insurance? And there's many reasons why they would, because again, yeah, you don't have direct income coming in, but that's count tens of thousands of dollars a year that you're saving.
Yeah.
By not sending that kid away to a daycare, or a child
hiring a nanny or something like that. Right. And that's something that we hear pretty often, I feel like. I don't know if there's listeners out there that are in this situation themselves where there's a breadwinner and then a stay-at-home spouse that takes care of the kids. Both of these people need life insurance, not just the one that actually brings home the bacon, because both of them, in a sense, are earning an income for the family. It doesn't necessarily need to be dollars and cents, but the breadwinner, it's the same kind of thing where you're taking care of your kids, because the alternative to that would be hiring a nanny or sending them to daycare, which obviously costs that money that you're not spending. So to Jordan's point, yeah, both of those people should still need life insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just some of the things that, again, are very overlooked and people don't realize, but that's why there's an importance of, being educated on it and just understanding these topics. Another one, again, just going down the list would be, your healthcare through your employer plan, whether it's your FSA or HSA. You want to talk a little bit about those? And
Yeah, these are just, again, more tax advantaged ways for you to save money, essentially. An HSA specifically is a tax advantaged account that helps you save for medical expenses. So basically, you defer money right now from your income, so you don't pay tax on it like this year. Throw it into an HSA account. It grows tax free from all the dividends and interest that it receives. And then if you were to pull out that money, normally you'd have to pay income tax on that. With an HSA, if you're pulling out the money and spending it on eligible medical expenses, then there's no tax at all. So it's like it's one of the only triple tax advantaged types of accounts. And there's a couple rules that you need to follow in order to like be eligible for it. You have to be under a high deductible health plan, which some people just are through their employer, like we are. The amount that you're able to contribute each year is limited. But yes, again, it's just another tax advantaged plan for medical purposes specifically. So if you have health insurance through your employer, it might be worth considering seeing if you're in a high deductible health plan and then maybe participate in an HSA.
yeah, and those are one of the key things to HSAs as well, is that's money that will roll over if not used in the current year, right? So you don't know when you're going to need money for, health costs or medical bills, whatever it may be. You don't know when that's going to come. That's the whole thing with life is, we don't know when we're going to be healthy. We don't know when we're going to be unhealthy. So the advantage to that is, I have best case scenario. I have a great year. I don't need as much of the money that I set aside for this year. Well, if anything happens next year, we can use it, or the year after that. It will roll on forward, and which is huge because on the flip side of things, the other thing we brought up is the FSA, which does not have that as a benefit to it. So you put money away. Again, it's pre-tax dollars, so this is something that you can take away or deduct from your income on the year. But if you don't use that money, then it doesn't roll over to the next year. So it's using or losing it.
Yep. And I guess another point to make just for us doing this episode of the podcast, like I said earlier, we just named off a lot of very specific kind of niche things that are all equally important for new parents. Again, just to hammer home the point, these aren't things that any one person should try to, if you're not part of this industry, try to learn yourself, because they're so complicated and they're so individualistic. This is just, I guess, bottom line is this is what we do. We handle all of these types of things on a daily basis. So it just doesn't to me, it doesn't make much sense for someone to want to go out there and try and learn all of these different HSA, FSA accounts and all the, all the individual parts about them, because it's just too much, I feel like.
Yeah. And again, we're giving like pretty much a brief overview, just go through this checklist and not going
just naming things, to be honest.
Yeah, not going too deep within, just to kind of show you the different things that you guys, like you said, should be looking at. But there's a lot more to it.
Right.
And again, they're all something that should definitely be looked into with having your first kid or, growing your family, marriage. All this stuff is just important stuff with those big life events and big milestone events as you're, in your 20s and 30s, starting a family.
For sure.
and growing your wealth and everything.
Yeah. I mean, like we're not just like naming all these things because we took like a Series 7 recently and like read a textbook and like, okay, let's make sure we mention all these little accounts. Like these are real things that real people, parents should be doing, so we're not just naming financial things and different acronyms to confuse you or whatever. It's like, these are real things that people should certainly be considering. I just want to really emphasize that.
Yeah. And as we're just going over the FSA and HSA, so there's a couple other things too to touch on. And so another one would be the child tax credit. So when you have a child, so in that year, you get a $2,200 tax credit. As well as another thing would be the dependent care FSA. So this is different than your healthcare FSA through your employer, but it is another account that allows you to store money, put money away like the normal healthcare FSA, but to use towards things like daycare, preschool, school, camps through school. So it gives you an opportunity to put it away, deduct that from your income, as well as use this money tax-free if you use it towards the right qualified events.
Yep. And a quick distinction I want to make with tax credits and tax deductions is that tax credits, when you have a tax bill, for example, like $1,000 this year, a tax credit that you receive is like a dollar for dollar deduction to that tax bill. So they're more valuable than tax deductions are. Whereas a tax deduction is like if you earned $100,000 in a year and you donated $20,000 to charity, you can deduct that $20,000 from your $100,000 income. So you're only paying tax on $80,000. So they work pretty differently. So you would still have, obviously, just a dollar for dollar reduction in a tax bill is more useful than a tax deduction. But I just think it's worthwhile to make that distinction.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, I know we went over a bunch of different stuff. I hope, if you're entering that stage of life, this could be a useful, episode just to come through. You can make a checklist yourself and start slowly crossing off some of these things because they're very important to go over.
If you're entering the stage of life where you're becoming a parent and you're getting married and having kids, then I just think you should you should sit down with somebody like us, somebody that handles investments, insurance, retirement planning, taxes, and considers all of these different things at once. To be completely honest, I wouldn't want someone to go and sit down with like an insurance agent, an investment advisor, and like talk to all of them independently because, again, that's just like more work, I feel like almost. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to emphasize with that.
Yeah, and like we've talked about, it's important to have all your ducks in a row, and it's hard to do that when you're meeting with 6 different people for 6 different things because they might have, what they're helping you with is they're going to have that as the most important thing.
Exactly.
It's hard to keep the best interest in everything if, you're doing one thing and you want to do that the best. Whereas all of these things are crucial to your financial, success, and they all go hand in hand and should be looked at under the same umbrella because they're all equally important.
For sure. Totally agree.
But other than that, that's pretty much it for episode 4, the Integrity IPG podcast. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time.
All right. See you guys.
This material is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Integrity Investment Planning Group does not provide tax advice, but we do coordinate our services and work together with our clients' tax professionals. Estate planning services provided in conjunction with your licensed legal professional. Securities offered through the ON Equity Sales Company, member FINRA/SIPC, One Financial Way, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45242, 513-794-6794. Investment advisory services offered through ON Investment Management Company,